Most people learn to read a horse's ears the wrong way. Pinned back means angry. Pricked forward means alert. That's the version. And it's not wrong exactly. It's just about as useful as saying a person is either happy or sad based on whether they're smiling or not. You've stood at a fence and watched a horse track something you couldn't see. Ears swiveling like satellite dishes, body still, not a muscle twitching except those two. And if you've spent enough time around horses, you've felt the difference between the ears forward that means curiosity and the one that means something just changed and you don't know what yet. You felt it. You just might not have known what you were reading. That's what this video is actually about. Not the broad categories, the underlying system, how horse ears work as an information architecture, and what that means for every interaction you have. Here's the part people miss. A horse has 10 muscles controlling each ear, 10, independently. That's nearly double what humans have in their entire face for expression. The ear isn't just pointing, it's a precision instrument with a range of motion and a speed of movement that's doing far more work than most of us give it credit for. And they can move each ear independently of the other, which means they're often processing two different streams of input simultaneously. The right ear attending to something in the field, the left ear on you, at the same time. That single fact changes everything. When you see a horse with one ear on you and one ear somewhere else, that's not distraction, that's competence. That's a nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do, monitoring multiple threats and resources at once. Prey animals don't get the luxury of focused attention. The horse that pauses to really listen to only one thing is the horse that gets eaten. The split-eared horse is a horse doing its job well. Which means if you've ever been frustrated that your horse isn't paying attention because only one ear is on you, and look, most of us have felt that frustration, you might have been misreading attentiveness as inattention. That's worth sitting with for a second, because the response to that frustration often involves escalating pressure to demand focus when the horse was actually quite focused, just not exclusively on you. Now the science gets more interesting. Researchers at the University of Sussex spent years studying what horses actually communicate through ear position, not just what they express, but what they read in other horses. And what they found is that horses use the ear direction of other horses as a specific information cue. When one horse's ear points at something, nearby horses follow that vector. They use each other's ears the way you'd use someone's gaze to figure out what they're looking at. It's referential. There's intentionality there, or something close enough to it, that the distinction is almost philosophical. Which means when your horse glances at you and then swings an ear toward the water bucket, that might not be coincidence. Horses appear to understand that where a gaze or ear is pointed tells them something about where attention lives. They're reading you the same way they read each other. Most communication training focuses on what we send. The horses are also busy interpreting what we point at. The pinned ears moment deserves more nuance than it usually gets. Yes, flat back ears during feeding can signal aggression. Resource guarding is real. It's a genuine behavioral response, and you should take it seriously. But ears that go back during work aren't always about aggression. Sometimes they're concentration. A horse working hard through a difficult movement will often pull its ears back slightly, not flat, not pinned, but back and inward, focused. The distinction in degree and context matters enormously, and collapsing it all into angry misses about half the information. There's also a displacement behavior that shows up in confused horses that almost nobody talks about. Rapid, small ear flicks, not the full swivel, not the big scan, tiny oscillations that don't settle. It looks like the horse is trying to listen to something it can't locate. And in a training context, that often means exactly that. The horse is trying to find the signal. It doesn't know where to point its attention because the information it's receiving is ambiguous or contradictory. That ear behavior isn't attitude. It's a horse trying to solve a problem it doesn't have enough data to solve. If you see that during a session, the most useful thing usually is to simplify, not increase pressure. Simplify. Give it one thing to listen to. Ears also carry emotional valence in a direction most people don't expect. A 2018 study, and this one is worth knowing, found that horses shown photographs of human facial expressions responded differently based on whether the face was positive or negative. But here's what made it interesting. The horses viewing negative human faces showed a marked left eye bias. They processed negative emotional stimuli preferentially through the left eye, which routes to the right hemisphere, which in most vertebrates handles threat and negative affect processing. Their ears reflected this. Right ear attending to the familiar, left eye, and correspondingly, left ear back position toward the thing that felt threatening. Hemispheric lateralization in emotional processing, in a horse, reading a photograph of a human face. That's not a party trick. That's evidence that horses have an emotionally differentiated perceptual system that's been interpreting social signals, including yours, with more granularity than we assumed. What you feel in the stable, that sense that your horse somehow knows when you're having a bad day, might not be as mystical as it sounds. It might be a very precise animal reading a very specific signal that you didn't know you were sending. There's something almost uncomfortable about that, in a good way. The practical layer, what you can actually do with this, is probably less complicated than you'd expect. It's mostly observation. Stand somewhere your horse can't see you're watching. Note what its ears do when it's relaxed. Note the resting position, because the resting position is your baseline, and every horse's baseline is slightly different. One horse's neutral is another horse's mild tension. You can't read deviation if you don't know the default. Then watch the sequence during work, not just the static position. Ears tell a story across time. The horse that comes out of the trailer with ears scanning and gradually softens to one forward, one back over 20 minutes is telling you something. The horse whose ears go progressively tighter across a session is also telling you something. The direction of travel matters as much as the snapshot. There's a moment, most experienced riders know it even if they don't name it, when both ears come soft and slightly to the side, not pinned, not pricked, just easy. That horse is with you, genuinely with you. The body might still be moving through the work, but something's settled. That ear position is trust made visible. It's a small thing. It's also kind of everything. Here's what I think is actually true, and it's harder to pin down precisely than the rest of this. Horses who live in environments where their ear signals consistently go unread become harder to read over time. Not because they stop signaling, they can't stop signaling, the nervous system doesn't work that way, but because the signals become faster and smaller, compressed, like someone who's learned that repeating themselves rarely helps. The horse who learned early that the flat back ears produced a response, that the ear flick got attention, that the soft two-ear drop landed somewhere, that horse stays expressive. The other one economizes. Which means the ability to read this isn't just knowledge, it's relationship infrastructure. Go watch your horse's ears for 10 minutes without agenda, not during work, not during feeding, just standing somewhere together. Notice what they track. Notice where they rest. Notice the one moment where both ears come back to you at once. It happens faster than you think, and it means something.